Hello and welcome everybody. My name is Faz Kareem and I'm with Learnit. And I'm here to go ahead and teach everyone Word Advanced. This is one of 3 videos you can watch. We have Word Introduction, Word Intermediate, and here we are in Word Advanced, where we cover 7 lessons in 2 different modules, Module 5 and Module 6, covering some advanced topics in Microsoft Word. I'm really glad you can make it. Now, with that being said, we have a lot to cover in this e-learning that you're watching here. Let me go ahead and show everyone the agenda that we have of topics that I'd like to cover in this course, in the 7 lessons that I'd like to cover. Now, in Module 5, I want to start out with Lesson 1, focusing on manipulating images. I want to talk about how we can group images, how we can add text to images, and how we can adjust image appearance by using the Picture Format tab. And then from there, we're going to talk about inserting other media elements. Now, after we finish Lesson 1, I also want to start talking about using custom graphic elements like WordArt or even SmartArt in creating text boxes as well that you can link to one another for nice control of flow of text. In Lesson 3, I want to talk a little bit about collaborating on documents using markups and preparing a document for collaboration, potentially sharing a document using OneDrive. Lesson 4, I'm just going to spend a little bit of time talking about adding document references and links such as bookmarks, hyperlinks, and captions. Now that's going to conclude it for Module 5. Once we do cover Module 5, we do have Module 6 with 3 other lessons, Lesson 5, 6, and 7, to where we're going to talk a little bit about once your document's done, how can you secure it? Maybe you have to suppress information or you have to add restriction on editing. Or maybe you want to add a digital signature to the document. In Lesson 6, we also want to talk about creating forms and modifying forms in Microsoft Word. And last but not least, we're going to talk about using macros, adding in small little functionality into your Word environment so that you can quickly make edits or do these certain common tasks in Microsoft Word without spending too many keystrokes doing it. Because all you have to do is record yourself doing it just once or write out a little bit of VBA and the code will be saved into the software for later use. Macros are pretty interesting. It's available in PowerPoint, Word, and Excel. So a lot of good stuff for us in Module 5 and Module 6. With that being said, I do want to mention that these courses are provided by Learnit, and if you feel like this material is a little bit too advanced to start out with, I highly recommend to take a look at our Word introduction video, or if you feel like you're a little bit into the basics and you know a little bit about Word, dive into the Word intermediate video before watching this. Those will talk about sorting tables, lists, bullet formatting, and all that good stuff before diving into these more advanced features that we're going to be talking about today. Do as you please, just make sure to check out our other videos, and let's begin with Word Advanced. I'm pretty excited. Hopefully you are too. I do want to mention that these e-learnings, they're great if you actually practice and kind of copy what I'm doing. So if you notice and something catches your eye and you're like, wow, that is something I might want to do in the future, instead of just watching me, I encourage you to pause the video. And before moving on to that next function or that next feature that we're going to talk about or the next lesson, give it a practice. Give it a little dry run practice at your desk and see if you can do a macro before moving on, or see if you can add in your own SmartArt before moving on. It definitely does help out with the learning, and you don't have to do it for every little thing we cover today, but definitely those things that stand out to you that you know you're going to be using in the future, you might just want to get that muscle memory in and practice a little bit instead of just watching it. So again, my name is Faz Kareem. I'm pretty excited to begin. Let's go ahead and get started with Word Advanced, everybody. All right. In Lesson 1, Manipulating Images, I want to spend some time and talk about how Word treats pictures once added into a Word document. Now, inside the Insert tab is where we go to actually insert pictures. And whether this is online or from your computer, or even using the stock images or icons that are built into Microsoft Word, we'll always go to the Insert tab. From there, we have a command group called Illustrations that we've learned about in previous videos. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Pictures option from there, and I can actually choose to insert pictures from 3 different locations here. This device means somewhere from on my computer or my OneDrive account. Stock images simply mean the built-in stock images that we can use, or online pictures using a Bing search to find those images for us. Let me go ahead and select some of these online pictures, or maybe even one of these stock images that we have. All right, I'm going to go ahead and use this new one, and I'm going to choose to insert it here. Great. Now, the very first thing that I want to talk about with images inside of Word is the concept of resizing it. Before we actually move this thing around and place it and integrate it with text, I just want to talk a little bit about resizing an image. Because whether you're on a PC or a Mac, you're always going to have these little handles that you can use to resize the image as long as you have the image selected. Now, when you grab one of these handles, you can go ahead and resize the image, but if you grab one, you see how it kind of morphs the image and it makes it disproportionate depending on which handle you grab? Now, if you want the image to just morph proportionately, grabbing those little angle handles is much more beneficial for us there. Just making it a little bit smaller there. Now, how images work is they actually act like a character. It basically acts like a piece of text. So if I move this image, you see how my cursor's kind of moving around? It's going to act just like a letter. So if I move it and I put the image right in front of that period or after that period, the image is going to take spot and put place in there, just like a letter A or a letter B or a letter C would. You know, not really what we expect, but that's usually how images work by default in Word. It just acts like a normal character that you're putting into a sentence. There's a big old character. Now, we do have this ability, though, to change that. And if you want your image to nicely line up with the text, or if you want your image to be in the middle of the text, or behind the text, or in front of the text, these are all things that are possible using Microsoft Word's layout options. So when you have an image selected, this little icon pops up called the layout options. And the very default setting that it's on is called the inline with text, meaning the image is going to be in line with whatever text you move it next to. It's going to be in the same line. We actually want to change that. We can change that to maybe top bottom, to where you can have a caption. Wherever you move this image, it's going to be above and below a line of text. So this is our top-bottom layout option that we have. You can also have an option to move the image behind the text. Be careful with this one, because sometimes if you have a lot of text, it'll be kind of difficult to grab the image once it's already behind there. But let me change that layout option, because we even have one that moves it in front of the text. Not that I wanted to do that. I also have these two. These ones I commonly use. I use the square, which puts the image nice and square to the text. Wherever I move it, it's nice and square. Or I can also do this next option here, which is tight, which just puts the words a little bit closer to that image there. Now what's nifty for us is when we select this image and we've chosen the layout options that we would like. At that point, we have a ton of tools and formatting options that we can use inside of the Picture Format tab. Now, I just want to point out that this Picture Format tab is known as a contextual tab, meaning that it won't be there unless you have an image actually selected. So I have this image selected and it gives me a Picture Format tab. If I deselect that image, what's going to end up happening is I'm going to lose that contextual tab that I had. But if I ever want to return and bring it back, I can go ahead and select and choose my Picture Format tab. And then from there, I can actually have a wide variety of options for formatting. I can use the image with the reflected round rectangle, the drop shadow rectangle, even have a metal frame or a white frame there. I like this drop shadow look usually. I'm going to move it just down just a little bit there. Looking smooth and good there. So, inserting images is definitely something you're going to do inside of Word. It's very common. I just don't want you to pass up the Insert tab because we do have a lot of stock images that I just used an example of. And we also have things like icons that we can use and insert into our documents as well. Let's pick an icon here. What would be fitting? Ooh, this looks nice. Insert. And of course, these also will have those layout options that we were looking at. And I'll move this to the other side, nice and square there. So, before moving on, I do want you to practice using Microsoft Word's layout options. Whether it's for an image that you have selected or an image that you use from your stock images or even an icon. Now remember, we found all of these things from the Insert tab. Now once you've had enough practice using the layout options and seeing each one and seeing what each setting does what to each image and when you move it around, I do want you to practice using your Picture Format tab. And with the Picture Format tab, I want you to spend some time using the picture styles and browsing all of those picture styles that you have available to change the formatting of the image on your document. Spend some time playing around, but don't forget to come right back because there's still a lot more to cover. All right. Hopefully you had a little fun playing around and messing around with the layout options and integrating pictures with text, and even adjusting the picture styles that we have available. But I do want to spend a little bit more time talking about images and various ways that we can actually adjust the look, feel, and formatting of the image. Pretty drastically, actually, using the Adjust command group here from the Picture Format tab that shows up when you have an image selected. A very common thing that I like to see people do, or most people like to do, is they like to make some images with a little bit of transparency. This is especially useful if you want to have the image maybe behind text or in front of text. So if I make this just a little bit transparent and I go ahead and change this to move it behind the text, you can see there that the text is still visible and the image is still there present for us. I'm going to go ahead and switch that again, that layout option back. Here, I'll put it top bottom there, and I'll just move it a little bit below. There we go. Now, if you don't like the changes you made to an image and you realize the transparency effect was a bit too bright, you always have this option to go ahead and reset the picture to the original formatting that it was at. Something really cool that I like is the artistic effects. I don't see enough people using this, but there's quite a few ways we can drastically change the look and feel of the image with these artistic effects that are available and built into Microsoft Word. Check out this pencil sketch one. I can also make it a little bit blurry. I really like this glow one, this glow edges, because it makes the edges of the inside of the image glow. And I think that's pretty interesting. Let me go ahead and reset that. We can even adjust the color, the saturation, the tone, and even choose from these color palettes that we have built in. I'm going to reset that graphic. A lot of times I'll end up finding an image that I find really useful, but I don't need the background. I don't need this background. I just need the baseball. And there's actually a pretty useful tool in the adjust command group called remove background. You actually will also find this one in PowerPoint. Now the remove background feature will actually help you remove the background of a selected image. As you can see, it tries its best to find the image for you, but it made a little mistake. It wants to remove some of the baseball that I want to keep. So when you do use the removal tool, the background removal tab pops up. And that way I can go ahead and mark the areas that I want to keep, which is actually going to be this baseball. Just kind of lining it up there. Oh, I need to get the bottom of the baseball too. And I can mark the areas to remove again by nicely kind of drawing around the table. And with enough playtime, of course, you'll end up getting that perfect symmetry there where you want to find that image. Almost there. I'm just going to draw a little bit very carefully there. I don't want to spend too much time on this editing process, but we're getting there. Here, let me mark the areas to keep. I'm noticing the ball looks a little lopsided, right? Alrighty, that's fine. I'll keep it as is just for the sake of time, but I'll go ahead and hit keep changes here. Ooh, I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that. Noticing I have a little area that I want to remove right there. So with enough playtime, of course, you'll end up getting it. But now we have an image without a background where we have this baseball that we have to play around with. And I'm just going to move that around a little bit, put it in the lesson 1 area there. You know, if you want to make the image smaller too, you have a crop option there for the image where you can crop that white space area and save the change there. So I definitely do want you to try practicing playing with the background removal tool before moving on to the next lesson that we have, which is using custom graphic elements, WordArt, SmartArt, and even text boxes that control flow. Go ahead and pause the video, but I will see you soon in lesson 2. In lesson 2, using custom graphic elements, I want to spend some time talking about text boxes and pull quotes. How to make text in your documents stand out. Also, I want to talk about SmartArt and WordArt and how we can use that to graphically change the look and feel of the text within a document. Let's start out with our text boxes and pull quotes. Now from the Insert tab, you actually have this nice area called Text. It's a command group that we have available. And inside of there, you'll actually find an option called Text Box. Got must-see content? Put it in a text box. It'll put the focus on the content there, and there's actually some built-in pull quote text boxes you can use. Like the Austin quote. This has bold lines on the top and bottom here. Now, once you have the pull quote in, you can go ahead and edit and modify the text within the quote. And if you need to format the text or center it or align it, you can go ahead and use the paragraph aligning tools there and even resize it. And you can also use all of our layout options that we discussed previously in manipulating images and picture layout, because it's the same options that we have available for our text boxes. Now, if you're not happy with the built-in selection here of text boxes that we have, I do also want to mention that you have the option to draw a text box. And then from there, you can go ahead and format and add your own custom formatting to the text box if you'd like as well. Selecting the entire text box and changing the font of it will change it to all future text. And the cool thing about these text boxes is you can also insert images within the text box. Let me go ahead and use one of our stock images here that I can insert, and I'll just pick a little icon there. These cool looking glasses. Insert. Now, if you do realize that this image is too small, or the text box is too small, or the image is too large, you have two options here. You can always resize the image to make it a little bit smaller, or you can go ahead and select the text box and make the text box a little bit bigger there. Now keep in mind that if you end up having too much text inside of a text box, and you can't see the rest of the text, I do want to mention that you have this ability to go ahead and you can link text boxes together. Now you can do that by going ahead and selecting one text box, and once you have the text box selected, from the Shape Format tab, you can choose Create Link. And when you select Create Link, everybody, it's going to give you this little bucket with an arrow. And if you select the next text box, it's going to pour the text of the current text box you have selected into the next one there. So now we have two text boxes that are linked together. And if I go ahead and make this one a little bit smaller, you're going to see that the image moves over to that next text box. So whether you want to use the built-in text boxes to create your pull quotes and grab your reader's attention for certain parts of the document, or you just want to use custom text boxes that you link together, those are both available and easily accessible directly from the Insert tab. Before we start talking about WordArt and SmartArt, I definitely encourage you to practice using these text boxes as a quick little example in a Word document that you open up. And then you should come right back so that we can cover SmartArt and WordArt that we have available in Microsoft Word. Besides being able to add text boxes, you can also get text and convert it to WordArt. Great for cover pages and title pages there. I'm going to go ahead and highlight this text, and from my Insert tab here, you're going to notice that next to the text box option that we just covered is actually WordArt. You can add some artistic flair to your document using a WordArt text box. And you can go ahead and select from the pre-selections here. I'm going to go ahead and choose this one here. This one had a little shadow there on the back, and it puts it in a text box here, as you can see, and it makes it into WordArt, where you can still resize the WordArt, make it smaller or bigger in the text box. It's going to have layout options just like everything else did. My layout options there. And when I go ahead and select the shape, there's going to be a new tab that pops up called Shape Format. And from there, I have a command group called WordArt Styles, everybody, where I can choose and modify the style of my WordArt. I can even browse through the styles before selecting it by simply hovering over them to view a live preview. Now, once you find a quick style, you can also modify it a bit by adjusting the color of the quick style if you'd like. You can also adjust the outline of the quick style if you'd like. And also you can change the effect. You can add a reflection there. All very cool graphical things that you can customize with a few clicks. Just all you got to remember though is that when you have a text selected, that you have to insert the WordArt from the text command group. And if you're not sure which one you want, you can pick it. And then once you pick it, you can actually browse and modify the actual WordArt with the shape format using the quick styles that we have. And you can even modify it further by also adjusting the effects that we have as well. Let's do a glow effect for this one. So a lot of interesting stuff with graphic elements. WordArt is one fancy thing that I enjoy using. But in addition to WordArt, we also have something called SmartArt, which is great to show a cycle, a list, a process, a matrix in a visual format by using shapes and images and text together. Very powerful tool. It's available in Word, PowerPoint, and Outlook, and we'll be covering that in the next video. But I do want you to practice using WordArt and manipulating the WordArt styles, the effects, the outline, the colors, before we move on and talk about that SmartArt effects that we have available as well. Spend some time before we move on to the next video, and then come right back. Don't forget to press play. All right. So now that we've played around with WordArt a bit, I want to start talking about SmartArt. It's inside of our Illustrations command group. It's still in the Insert tab, the Illustrations command group, but I want to talk about SmartArt. It ranges from graphical lists, process diagrams, complex graphics such as Venn diagrams, and even organization charts. When you select it, there's a wide variety of SmartArt graphics that you can choose from. Some of them allow you to add images, some of them don't. Some of them are built for a list. Some of them are built to describe a process of some sort or a cycle of some sort, a hierarchy like an organization chart, relationships, a matrix, pyramids, picture SmartArts, and even available ones that you can download from office.com if you're an Office 365 user. I'll go ahead and choose the basic picture caption list over here, and I'll hit OK. Because it's automatically going to insert a SmartArt graphic placeholder for you to insert your text, photos, in this graphical format. So if I go ahead and click on this little text pane, I can go ahead and delete the ones that I don't need. And if I want, I can go ahead and build this graphic. Here, I'll put one for Word, I'll put one for Excel, and I'll put one for PowerPoint. There we go. And the cool thing about this SmartArt that I chose, the picture caption list, is that it lets you add a picture to each one of these captions here. So I can go ahead and choose my online picture, and I'm going to go ahead and choose, my first one was Word there. I can choose Excel. And PowerPoint. So in just a matter of a couple minutes there, I built this graphic with captions and images that I've inserted using SmartArt graphics. I mean, there's more than just the picture caption list that I inserted here. I can also go to the Insert tab and choose different kinds of SmartArt. There's also some that don't have images, built for like bulleted lists of some sort. Here, I'll do the vertical bullet list, which is used to show non-sequential or grouped blocks of data. It works well with lists with long headings or top-level information. So if you had things like, chapter 1, and then you can have module 1, and then module 2, and I can have chapter 2. And if I hit tab, it changes the style of the bullet. So that's how I'm changing it to a text box without a blue border and one with a blue border there, just by tabbing into it. Now the cool thing about SmartArt graphics is once you actually have them built, you actually have this tab that pops up when you have a SmartArt graphic selected. And if you're not happy with the outcome of your SmartArt graphic, you can choose from the layouts to view a different layout that you have for the SmartArt. Let me move this over to the side so you can see them. And it's just changing it to the different layouts that we had available in case those ones would have worked better for us. But I'm pretty happy with my picture caption list. It seems pretty smooth, but it's nice to know that I can conveniently change the style or the layout of my SmartArt graphic with just a click of a button there, even after it's already built. You can even change the colors of the shapes and squares if you had one without images. You can make it a little bit more rounded. The SmartArt styles, you can make it a 3D effect if you would like as well. And if you're not happy with all these changes you've made, you have a button called Reset Graphic, which takes it back to the original picture caption list that you had. You can also do it for this one as well. There's a bunch of different styles you can browse through. So you could also make it three-dimensional as well for this one. And when you're not happy with the changes or you went too far away from the original, you can choose Reset Graphic there. So SmartArt definitely does add a lot of custom graphics to display information in your Word documents. And in addition to WordArt, these text boxes and these pull quotes that we have, Lesson 2 is an interesting one. Definitely give SmartArt a try before we move on to Lesson 3, talking about collaborating on other documents and using the markup tools and even using the comments in OneDrive sharing. A lot of interesting stuff in Lesson 3, collaborating on documents, coming up next. Go ahead and practice SmartArt before moving on to the next video if you would like, though. In Lesson 3, collaborating on documents, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about OneDrive and sharing documents. Now, Microsoft Word has collaboration features to where you can co-author and work with someone simultaneously on a document. And if you'd like to share a document, you have to have your files on Microsoft OneDrive, which is your personal cloud storage that most organizations offer you. Now, if you have saved the file on OneDrive, I just want to point out that this share button in Word will now become available for you. So if you want, you can share this document with editable or viewable rights to a colleague of yours. Now you can actually change the permissions of the link that you're sending. You can have it work for anyone that gets access with the link, people within your organization, or anyone that already has access can continue having access. But the most common one that I like to choose here is I like to go to that last setting and I choose specific people. And then if I apply the allow editing setting, I can actually choose to type someone's name from this list, and I can choose to actually go ahead and share this file with that user. I can change the editable rights to can edit or can view. And once I'm happy with the rights that I've chosen, the permissions, I can hit send. Now, the user will end up receiving a link in their Outlook email saying that, hey, they have a OneDrive file being shared with them, or they can go to their OneDrive account on the web and view their shared files to have access to that file. This way of sharing a file has been around for quite some time, but remember, you have to be using OneDrive. In addition to that, they've also added this ability to where when you're reviewing a document and you need to share this document with someone, you can actually add a new comment with someone's name in it, and this is known as a mention. Now, when you go ahead and mention someone, what mentioning is going to do is it's automatically going to give a link and share and notify the user about the comment. So if I have to highlight this word here and I hit new comment, and if this document's on OneDrive, I can mention individuals from my organization. And if they don't have access to this file, I can go ahead and hit share and notify. And then once they receive access to the file, they'll see the comment and they'll see where you mentioned them, and they'll know where to get started on their work. Very useful feature. Both of these methods, I'm going to hit don't share, will require us to use OneDrive. I'm going to delete this comment here. So whether you're using the new comment feature or the share at the very top, or even if you go to your file tab and you use the share option, the file must be on OneDrive for this to actually be shared with co-authoring, editable and viewable rights like we just discussed there. So if you are using OneDrive, I definitely encourage you to practice sharing a file and seeing if you can co-author with another colleague at the same time, simultaneously. And if you do end up doing this a lot, something that I encourage you to do is turn on track changes. So from the review tab, besides being able to share these files, you also have a command group to turn on track changes. Now what track changes is going to do for us, it's actually going to go ahead and track all the changes that are being made from into the document at that point once you've turned it on. So if you're getting close to the finalized version and you want to start marking and seeing these small little edits that people are making so that you can review them for later, you can turn on track changes. So now if I highlight this and I, let's say, make it bold, track changes is actually going to go ahead and show that I formatted this font a few seconds ago to bold. And if I end up sending this to an editor, they can choose to accept the change, or they can go ahead and reject the change as well from here. And if they reject the change, it's going to go back and change it to the original, which is unbold. So track changes is definitely useful when you're working on a document with multiple people and you want to make sure to see what changes are being made by who. Now keep in mind that when you turn on track changes, there's a new mode called simple markup, to where if a change is made and simple markup is turned on, you're simply just going to see a red bar where the change is being made. And if you select the red bar, it will open up the all markup mode, to where then you can go ahead and see the actual change and by who it was made by. And if you want, you can click this bar again to go back to the simple markup mode, making it a much more cleaner document. If there's a bunch of changes happening with multiple editors, you can quickly switch to the simple markup mode to read the document, and then switch to all markup mode to see the changes that have been made when it comes time to accept or reject those changes. Track changes is especially useful when you're collaborating with others, which seems to be happening more and more these days. I definitely recommend you giving this a try, turning on track changes, marking up the document. and then going through and accepting and rejecting those changes that you've made at the very end to finalize the document. It'll just give you a little taste of what it'd be like to collaborate with others in the future when it comes time to it. Don't forget to come back, because I do want to spend some time in Lesson 4 talking about adding captions, bookmarks, and hyperlinks. In Lesson 4, adding document references and links, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about how we can use the References tab. And from there, use the Captions command group to insert captions for equations, figures, and tables across your Word document. Now, when I go ahead and select this image here and I go to References, I can choose to insert a caption for this image. I can label it, and I'm going to go ahead and call this one a figure label. And from there, I can actually change the numbering style by choosing numbering. And I can click OK. I'll call it watering plants. Now, when I end up clicking OK here, it's going to go ahead and add that figure, that caption, below the image. I can do the same thing for my table here by selecting the table and inserting a caption and labeling this one as a table this time. Here, I'll have this one show up above the selected item. And for this one, I'm going to go ahead and call it regions, and I'll hit OK. I can go ahead and caption this image or this figure as well as a figure here. And I'll go ahead and have this above the selected item, and I'll hit OK. Now, the cool thing about using captions is you can put your cursor somewhere and you can insert a table of figures here. Here, I'm going to insert one for the caption label figure. And when I hit OK, it's going to automatically mark the page number and the figure number of where it can find those items. So a pretty good way to control and manage these large documents with a lot of items and figures and tables and equations that you want to reference through. I do encourage you to practice adding in your own captions, and then inserting a table of figures using the References tab before moving on to the next video where we cover bookmarks and hyperlinks. Now that we spent a little bit of time talking about captions, I want to spend some time talking about bookmarks. Sometimes you have really large documents, and it will help to bookmark certain things in the document so that you can easily go to that spot or position in the document at a later time. A bookmark in Microsoft Word kind of works like a bookmark you might place in an actual book. It places and marks a certain position that you can easily find again. And you can insert as many bookmarks as you want in a document or even an Outlook message. You can give each one a unique name so they're easily identifiable. For us to insert a bookmark, you actually have to go to your Insert tab and have something selected. And from the Insert tab, you have a command group called Links. And inside of there, you'll find the bookmark option for yourself. I'm going to go ahead and give this bookmark a name. I'm going to call it Videos, and I'm going to hit Add. I'm going to do that for each thing that I want to bookmark across the document. Now, if you'd like, you can also go to the File tab of Microsoft Word, head over to the Options, and under Advanced, if you would like, you have the option to show your bookmarks inside the document. And when you hit OK, they'll now show up inside of brackets visually, so you will know what has been bookmarked in the document. Now, when it comes time to actually using these bookmarks, you can go to the same area where you added them. So if you're in some other area of the document and you want to access your bookmarks, you can go to the bookmark area, and I'm going to jump to the videos by hitting Go To, and it automatically takes me to the video section. Or if I choose headers and I hit Go To, it's automatically going to take me to the headers. If I go to themes and I hit Go To, it's automatically going to take me to the themes there. So definitely practice trying adding in at least 3 bookmarks across a document that you have and seeing if you can use the Go To function. If you are planning on using this, I highly advise you to go over to your File tab, go to the Options, and go to your Advanced Settings so that you can display the bookmarks on the documents visibly, and you can see them nice and clear where they are across the documents that you open. Practice this, and when we come back, we're going to start talking about hyperlinking documents in Word. There's going to be certain times in your document that you're going to want to put a link, whether to another document or to a website that you want people to navigate to. Now, inserting hyperlinks in Word documents is rather simple these days by highlighting a chunk of text or a word and right-clicking. From there, you'll actually find the option to link with the text. Some users aren't familiar with the right-click method, and instead they'll go to the Insert tab and choose Links from the very top. It doesn't matter which way you choose. The right-click is a little faster though. Now from here, I can actually choose to link an existing file or web page. I can link to a certain place in this document or add an email address. So with that being said, I can go ahead and link this to an address here. And I can also change the text that's displayed. And when I click OK here, it's going to automatically create a hyperlink to where if I hit Control click, it's going to open up a browser and take me to that website. I could have also linked this to another document. I could have linked the document, right? By highlighting this, and this time I'm going to go to my Insert tab and I'm going to choose Link. Because I can choose an existing file somewhere on my computer. I can have it look inside of my documents, maybe inside of my archive, and I can link maybe a certain file here that I have. Now, linking a file, again, if you email this to someone, they might not have access to that file anymore. It's not on their computer. Some people like going to their Insert tab and they just actually insert the file as an object. They link the file as an object. This does make it rather large, the file itself rather large. Here, I'm going to go ahead and insert a Microsoft Word document here, and I'll have it displayed as an icon, and I'll hit OK. And now I've inserted a Word document here. I can also choose something from my computer, right? I can browse my computer to find a select file that I can add. Let's see, let me go to my documents, pick a random Word document that I have. Now keep in mind, this might make the, let me change the link name a little bit better there. There we go. Now this might actually go ahead and make your document rather large. So whether you want to create a new document or insert a document that you already have somewhere on your computer, those are objects that we insert in, or links that we insert in from websites, or whether you do a right-click, hyperlinking is quite common in Word. Go ahead and give that a try. If you feel like you're going to be adding in documents a lot, try inserting an object. as a link. And if you feel like you're going to be doing websites and web addresses, try using the links over there and linking to a website there instead. Practice this and then come right back so that we can cover Lesson 5, Securing a Document. In Lesson 5, Securing a Document, I want to spend some time talking about how we can suppress information and hide personal info of a document, like the author information, and also set formatting and restricting document access, and even if you need to, adding an invisible digital signature to your document. Now, most of these things to securing a document is actually done from the File tab. When it comes time to finalize a document, you can head over to the Info tab, and under Inspect Document, check for issues, you can choose to inspect the document for personal information. Now here, you can actually check the document for any comments, revisions, and versions that you can remove, document properties and personal information, any task pane add-ins, any embedded documents, any macros, forms, or ActiveX control, any collapsed headings that you have, XML data, any headers, footers, and watermarks, invisible content, and even hidden text. And when you choose to inspect the document, it'll go ahead and find things like, oh, we have some comments here and revision marks, where I can hit Remove All. I can remove the document author properties, the cropped picture information, Remove All. There was no custom XML data, removed it there. And now when I re-inspect, it's going to show me that there isn't any of the data anymore because it removed it. So when it comes time to sending out a document and it's getting sent out to a large audience and you want to leave it a little bit anonymous of who created it, inspecting that document will remove all that property information there. It's removed it. In addition to that, if this file was actually being edited by multiple people, you can actually go over to your Review tab. And under the Review tab, you have a Protect command group. This Protect command group will actually allow you to restrict editing for the document. You can limit how much others can edit and format the document, preventing them from making changes, or only allowing them to do track changes, or only allowing commenting. Now, the Restrict Editing window allows you to restrict formatting to certain styles of formatting by choosing the settings there. You can limit formatting to a selection of styles that we have. You can choose formatting to allow auto formatting, block theme switching, block quick style set switching. You can also turn on editing restrictions to make it a read-only file, or to have only track changes, comments, or only allow people to fill in forms. Now keep in mind, if you do choose one of these settings here, you can go ahead and start enforcing the protection whenever you're ready. And if you want, you can turn this off at any time. Now keep in mind, you can also set a password for this. And if you do set a password and you forget it, it's kind of hard to find out the password. It's not saved anywhere per se. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK over here. And now I went ahead and I protected this document. But if I ever need to stop protecting this document under restricted editing, I can go ahead and hit Stop Protection at the very bottom of the document there. I can also, instead of restricting the editing, just block certain authors. And I can go ahead and block an author from a certain chunk of text to avoid conflict while I'm working on it. This is if it's being shared with multiple users. Now, if you do want to add in your own digital signature, I'm going to go over to my File tab there. And under Info, I can protect the document, and I can add a digital signature there to ensure the integrity of the document. It's not going to be visible. I'm going to be created and approve this document. Purpose for signing this document, just a demo. I'm going to include information about the signer, click the Details button. I can put my name, my address, the city, the zip code, and all that good info. Right now it's telling me that I'm just signing it as this certificate right here. And once I hit sign here, do you want to use this certificate? Sure. Your signature has successfully been saved with this document. If this document is changed, your signature will become invalid. Cool. So now this document has a signature that I've added in. The document has also been marked as final here. Now remember, if I hit edit anyway, it will remove the signature of this document. The signature has been removed. So it's almost like a way of finalizing the document and stamping who finalized it. So whether it's suppressing the information, or whether it's restricting access from the review tab, or it's adding in a digital signature to mark it as final. These are all options you can take for securing a document. Go ahead and tinker around with these few things before moving on to lesson 6, where we're talking about creating forms and modifying forms in Microsoft Word. Certain times in Word, you're going to want to make a fillable form that people can fill out, where they can add their first name, their last name, like my registration form here that I've made. I want to build a form where a user can have their first name, last name, check mark whether or not they've paid, select a date, and select their payment type from a list of options from cash, other, or card or credit. Now, in order to build a form, you need to have access to a very special tab called Developer in Microsoft Word. Now, if you want to add the Developer tab to Word, you have to head over to your File tab and go down over to the Options of Word, all the way at the very bottom. And under Customize the ribbon, you can actually check mark Developer. Once you do that, you'll get access to the form controls that we need to add and build our form. And when you hit OK, the Developer tab will be there in Word. And now you have access to the Controls command group. So if you want, you can put your cursor and add in a plain text content control box for the first and last name areas. I also have this area where I can add in these little buttons for myself, maybe a yes/no button that I would like to select. I even have this area where they can select the date from a calendar that they choose from. And I can also choose and build my own list of items. And I can actually customize the list by turning on design mode and editing the properties of this list by adding in more values here. So I'm going to put cash as one of the values. I'm going to put card as one of the values. And I'm going to put other as another value. So with a little bit of time, I'm going to turn off that design mode now. I can go ahead and see that I have cash, card, or other as those options for the drop-down list. And if I put my cursor in here, I can select the date. And if I need to just choose today, I can mark today, hit yes, and I can type in my name if I need to. So, building forms is rather easy, and modifying that form using the design mode is also easy as well. I do want you to practice building a very basic form where we have these input boxes that a user can select and fill into before moving on to the next lesson, which is building macros for repetitive tasks in Word. In lesson 7, I want to spend some time talking about automating repetitive tasks with the use of macros. Now, macros is actually a way that we can record ourselves doing frequently done tasks to automate it in a sense. It actually uses a programming language known as VBA, which means Visual Basic for applications, to record all of our keystrokes. And then we can save it to a button that we can access and use for later. So one thing that I want to point out though is in order to record a macro, you must have access to a developer tab in Word PowerPoint, or Excel. Now, in order to turn on the Developer tab, make sure to right-click one of your tabs that you currently have and choose to customize the ribbon. Now, from there, you'll actually get access to this area called Customize Ribbon, to where you can turn on the Developer tab for yourself. You're going to need to turn on the Developer tab to either create a form or, what we're about to do now, record a macro. Once you've turned it on, it'll be on for all future documents on that computer that you've decided to turn it on for. Now, what I'm going to do here is I want to demonstrate recording a macro using the code command group inside of my Developer tab. Because I have an option to record macros and assign it to a button or a keyboard shortcut, and I can even access my macros from my macro library. Now, a very basic macro that I want to build, because I do this frequently, is I want a macro that not only will bold a line of text, but also italicize it for me at the same time. Because I find myself doing this a lot, where I'm making something bold and italic at the same time, and instead of clicking both of these items, I just want to have a button that I click once and it does both of those things for me. So in order to do that, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create a macro in Word to save that instructions. So I'm going to go over to my Developer tab and choose to record a macro here. And I'm going to go ahead and call it my bold italic macro. And I'm going to assign this to a button in Microsoft Word. Not a keyboard shortcut, but a button. I'm going to go ahead and select this new macro here, and I'm going to add it, and I'm also going to modify the icon for the macro. Here, I'll go ahead and put this smiley face here, and I'll just change the name of it to bold italics, and I'll hit OK. Now, when I end up hitting OK here, it's automatically going to start recording my macro. And I'm just going to go ahead and record myself highlighting this chunk of text, going to the Home tab and turning on bold and italic, and deselecting the text. Now from the Developer tab, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording. So in the future, if I have text that I need to bold and italic, because I've already created a button at the very top of Microsoft Word, the bold italic smiley face there. And if I click that, it will automatically bold and italicize that line of text for me. Now, this macro is actually going to be accessible across all of your documents. I do encourage you to practice playing around with macros and just building this basic bold italic macro before diving in and dabbling into more advanced macros and more instructions that you give it. Go ahead and practice this. And this was our final lesson, so congratulate yourself. And we'll talk about what we've covered coming up next. Congratulations, you've completed Word Advanced. If you haven't checked out Word Intermediate or Word Introduction, be sure to check those out or our other videos on YouTube. In this module, or in this course, we covered Module 5, Lesson 1 through 4, with manipulating images, graphics, collaborating on documents, and even adding in references and links. And then in Module 6, we talked about securing documents, building forms, and using that Developer tab to record macros. Now, I am curious to know, inside of this course here, if you can come up with 3 takeaways that you've learned inside the comments that you want to share with others. Let me know what that is. And I hope you do check out our other videos. And in the meantime, I want to thank you all for taking this course and the other ones. If you haven't taken a look at them, definitely peek into them. And that will conclude it for Word Advanced. You all have a great day, night, or whatever time it is there, and take care and happy learning.